welcome back to True-Moto-Resto. In today's video, we're going to try a DCT Reset on the Africa Twin. So like I said, the task for today is to attempt to do a DCT Reset on the Africa Twin. So obviously this is the bike with a dual clutch transmission. It's not a manual shifter, and there's about 12,000 kilometers on the bike. I've never done a DCT Reset on it. Still shifts fine. I'm getting a little bit of tiny bit of forward creep, so I'm gonna see if that helps it out. But yeah, I've been very reluctant to try it because I've read horror stories about people that have not been able to get the flashing hash mark off the dash, or the DNS indicators don't go away, or this, that, and the other thing. So I'm going to follow the instructions in the factory shop manual to a letter, to the T, and hopefully I get it right. I've watched a few videos on it that people have done it successfully. And the first step, as you see, is I'm just getting this bike warmed up. So I'm just going to take it for a short ride, maybe 5-10 minutes, make sure the oil temperature is up there to where it needs to be, normal operating temperature, and then we'll give it a go. Okay, bike's warmed up, and so I want to make sure I can see what my hands are doing here in the video. So the bike's warmed up, and I think it's important to note that whatever your temperature gauge is reading, as normal, is probably not, if you just start the bike and idle it for 5 minutes, it may not be warm enough. This is looking for warm oil temperature, not water temperature. So take it for a ride. And again, I'm talking not out of experience, but just from what I'm reading, what I'm learning. I've also heard that people have had less success when the bike is on the side stand. So I'm straddling the bike right now. It's not on the stand at all. And so if I turn on the ignition key, basically the dash kind of shows everything as normal. The neutral position is showing here, and that's about it. So now I'm going to start the process. I'll turn that off. So while I'm holding the D down, I'm going to turn the ignition on and wait for the engine light to go out. It has gone out. I'm going to give it another second. Let go. And now D, D, N, D, N. And now I have my dash showing the flashing basically every 2 seconds. The dash mark is flashing, and the S, D are now displayed. Start the bike. Now we'll see how long this takes to do the reset cycle. It'll be completed when the dash stops flashing and the N comes back and the S and the D are gone away. There, looks like it's completed. That's good news. That seemed to work okay. So I'm going to go back out now for a ride and test it out. Okay, back from the test ride, and I gotta say, I'm a little surprised at how much smoother this thing shifts. I didn't think there was any sort of issue with the shifting, but it's completely different. It's so much smoother. I would say before it was much more of a click, and you felt a little bit of a, it wasn't really lurching per se, but you could feel it shifting. Now it just kind of glides into the next gear. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. So a couple of other notes I will provide as far as things to watch for. So when I started the bike, when I was doing the reset and waiting for that dash mark and the DS to disappear and the N to come back, I then put on my helmet. I left the bike running, put on my helmet, got on the bike and went to leave, and it would not shift into drive or S at all. I could push this button all I wanted, and that neutral wasn't moving. It was doing nothing. So I did have to shut the bike off with the key, turn it back on, restart the bike, and then it engaged the drive, or the S2 as I usually ride in, was fine. It engaged no problem. And then I went out for my test ride, and everything was good. I'll have to see if there's any change in the slight creep that I get, but from what I've read, it's somewhat, a lot of people experience it. I didn't experience any of it today yet, so maybe that's also been cured. But yeah, the other things I will share with you that I've read and heard, and I don't know, again, I don't know how true this is, but I was just kind of cautious of it, so I didn't do it. Apparently it does not work if you leave the bike on the side stand. The process doesn't work well. Maybe it has worked for some people. I don't know. I didn't try it. I just straddled the bike and did it while I was sitting on the bike. Again, I'll say, make sure that you ride the bike for 5 or 10 minutes, because you don't want the L to appear on the dash. That means the oil temperature is too low. If you've got 3 bars showing on your water temperature, that does not mean after 2 minutes of idling in the garage that the oil temperature is going to be warm enough for this to work. So I would just sort of take note of that. And the other thing, the factory shop manual, I'm pretty sure it says, is make sure that you do not attempt the procedure when the cooling fan is running. So I just went for like a short 5-10 minute ride. I didn't wind the crap out of the bike or anything. So when I came back, if everything was up to temperature, but the cooling fan wasn't on when I started the process. And you probably heard when I started to do the DDNDS, that is the pace. I was calling the DDNDS, sorry, the DDNDN as I was pushing the button. So that was the speed that I was doing it. I've heard some guys say they've had difficulty if they were doing it too slow. Some guys had difficulty because they were doing it too fast. But that's the kind of the rate or the pace or the cadence that I was using when I did it. You heard me calling it out in the video, and that seemed to work for me okay. And again, when you do it, you want to make sure this is already in the on position, and then you're doing everything with the key basically until you're ready to start the bike. So if this is turned off and you turn the key on, the process isn't going to work. This has to be in the on position, and then you're basically cycling the key. You wait for the little light to go out. I gave it a few more seconds for that engine light to go out before I started the process, and I also gave it a few seconds once I got that DS and the dash to appear. I waited for that dash to start flashing. That way I knew that it was ready to get into that learning mode. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. I will be honest, I lost sleep over doing this. I just had visions of this, the DS and the dash never going away, and the bike not working properly again. So I avoided doing it for a day or so, which is kind of what I do. If I'm nervous about something, I just avoid it until I've kind of plucked up the courage to give it a go. So so here it is. It works. Do not be afraid to try it. If you follow the steps precisely, it does work. And this is a 2017 DCT, and it is by far my favorite bike. I absolutely love it. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.